Welcome back to Tom's One Steak, and this week we're going to focus on Lord of the Rings. Many of you requested this, and this is the scene or the cue name that's called The Fellowship. And it takes place, well, let me just start it, and then we're going to talk about it. So, this is from the very first Lord of the Rings, and I think it came out in 2000? Or 99. I remember seeing this thing, I think, in theaters just before midnight, or just like a couple hours before midnight when it was New Year's Eve. So I think it's 99. So The Fellowship, it's the scene that plays technically at the very end of the movie when Frodo decides to go to Mordor alone, and that also ends then the movie, and now we have to wait for a year or 2 years before the next one. Score composed by Howard Shore. I think Howard Shore did an incredible job developing the language for Lord of the Rings and all the movies that came after that. Very earthy approach, very lovely melodies, incredible orchestration. So this is where the theme really starts on the harmony comes back in. It's a really lovely theme. Very light in orchestration, and I'm not sure if this is actually what we're listening to at this point from the movie itself, or if it's the soundtrack and he extended the scene, which is the freedom that composers can take. I do this often myself, where a theme plays in a movie only for 30 or 40 seconds and you feel like, oh, there's way more life in it, and let's just extend it into like a bigger piece of music and record that with an orchestra, or if it's a synth score, work more on it with synthesizers. So I'm not sure if that's the case with this piece of music, but it flows so lovely, and the chords, the harmony follows each other like so naturally, and you really feel when you play this piece of music that is a friendship ending between two friends, or is this a continuation in the future? There's definitely some sadness in it when Frodo goes on his own, and I think Sam is his name, stays behind. But at the same time, it also has that feeling of uncertainty, like what's going to happen? What's going to happen to Frodo? What's going to happen to Sam? Obviously, we all know, we've seen the movies multiple times before, they will reunite. But it also has that really earthy quality to it. We just heard the theme on the recorder, and that area where they grew up, the Shire. I actually have been there because I worked with Peter Jackson on Mortal Engines. So I traveled a lot to New Zealand. And when you land in Auckland Airport and you take the drive to Wellington where he lives, you're driving through a couple of massive scenes of the Lord of the Rings. The first area is the Shire, which is a very foresty area. And there's actually a tourist attraction there. And you can see that area where they shot the Shire. Then if you drive a little further, then you totally get to Mordor country, and it's so impressive. The first time I arrived there was in the winter, and the mountains were absolutely insane black, and they looked as scary as they do in the movie. Now the theme develops is something that feels more heroic. Maybe underscoring the fact that Frodo took on this massive journey on his own, holding the ring on its way to Mordor, not knowing what to expect. But there's definitely a little bit of sense of dread in there, not knowing what would happen to him when he faces that incredible power that he needs to face. I think musically, all in all, I've always enjoyed this trilogy of score. It's been a massive undertaking to not only write this, but orchestrate this and get it recorded and get it mixed, and then music editing into the film, because the picture is always changing. So So therefore, I potentially feel when I listen to this, it feels a little bit more like a suite than actually what happens in the movie. But it could be exactly the same as in the movie. Sometimes that depends also when you are recording. Sometimes you're recording a little too early and they're still editing the film after that, which means that the music needs to be edited to make it work again. And since editing of films now go all the way up to almost the release of the film, it becomes very hard to record an original piece of music to a scene that will not be changed afterwards. So the music always needs to be edited, sometimes more, sometimes less, but the music always will be edited before the movie comes out, because the picture continually is changing till the very, very end. Now, since this sounds like such a continuous piece of music, I feel that this is potentially the music that didn't appear in the movie exactly like this, but in the film it was potentially slightly edited. Other than that, it ends on this really nice great finale note. Hats off to Howard Shore to deliver such a monumental 3-movie piece score for generations to come to enjoy. So applause for Howard Shore. And I'll see you guys next week, because you can leave all the comments you want below, and you can obviously leave more scores, film scores, tracks, whatever you want for me to listen to, and we will get to it in the coming weeks, months, years, even after I'm dead. We're going to continue doing it, right? Hey Sean, you found another guy that looks like me, right? Okay, so this is a promise. I'm going to keep going. Okay, see you soon. Bye.